Om Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
And now we'll hear from Monica.
White Lotus Day, May 8th, 1918, Mr. Robert Crosbie. Fellow students, it is 27 years ago today since HPB left that body in which she had worked night and day in order that she might bring to mankind the way out of their sorrows. It is hard to get an understanding of a nature like that. Men, generally, have considered that there was a woman with the faults of the Russian people. No understanding of what of necessity lay behind that great mission, having no philosophy of their own, not knowing what these appearances from time to time meant, great beings in bodies like the men of the time, coming to bring once again that knowledge which had been retained for ages by their predecessors. She worked just that we might know and that others might, after us know, might understand the difficulties and the causes of our sorrows, so that we might take those same steps that all great beings at one time took and move in the path of our predecessors. There was a great soul, some said. Yes, more than that, for a great soul to us may mean nothing very great, something above mediocre, perhaps. And in reality, in her own time, no one knew that being as that being was. We speak of HPB as she. Others speak of that being as he. For that body was merely a mortal garment in which one of those great masters of wisdom was masquerading, left his own high estate that he might present to the world in such a way that there could be no mistake in the presentment. For all that was intended to be given to the world was given in such form that anyone might find it, and that there is no need and never has been of any intermediary coming between the one who would know and the knowledge that was imparted. It was a wonderful mission, and there was a wonderful being. Now, where we draw near to the masters is within our hearts. It is our own feeling that does it. It is our own thought with that feeling that does it. It is only from inside, from our own perception, our own realization of the great nature of one who could bring that knowledge, who was in a position to do it, who was connected with masters, that makes any door open for us. So we are studying these things to draw near to the messenger in our hearts, not as a physical body, not as a Russian woman, but as one who had come of his own accord, accepted a body of the race, suffered in that body for the errors of those who tried to flout him, took upon himself all that was cast upon the Theosophical Society, made himself the scapegoat for all the errors of those who tried to follow the path, stood for the cause through thick and thin, and is insulted in the very worst way imaginable, not mere personal insults, but insults to the very soul itself, who in its integrity offered itself that we might be better and happier. So the lesson we have to learn is, I think, that we must feel that presence. While we are thinking of the one in whose memory we have met tonight, let us not forget her companion, her colleague, a part of herself, the one known to us as William Quan Judge. She said of him, quote, "I have known him for 5,000 centuries. He has been a part of myself for eons and is the Antaskarana, the bridge between the trans-Himalayan esoteric thought and the Western world," unquote. And let us understand too that those bodies were bodies not their own. They were borrowed bodies, bodies deserted by the egos who had been using them. And it is possible, by agreement on higher planes, for such things to take place. So what we saw in the world was not the great beings, but the mask within which and behind which those two great beings operated. HPB and William Quan Judge are not dead. They are as alive and as conscious as ever, and they work with those who work with them. And this always must be true. Each one must see that for himself, must try to draw near to them in his heart of hearts. And when he reads or studies the books that they have caused to be printed for us, when he does that, let him think whose words and what words he is reading, what they mean, what they were printed for, and what it is intended that everyone who reads, studies, and applies them should do. What does he need of that great knowledge? Just one thing, that he may pass it on, that he may so live, think, and act that others will follow along the same path. If one is able to move one single soul in the right direction, he is doing more than is accorded the most. So there is a glorious opportunity before us, more than we can imagine as we now stand. The path we have started on is the beginning of that path that leads to those masters. It is within our power to follow it, to make it the main object of our existence, to let all other things be incidental to that, for that surely is the highest duty. To make ourselves better and better fit, stronger and stronger characters, And if we do so, if we continue through the rest of this life in that direction, disregarding any other failures that may come, for such come, let us arise again and go forward without fear or discouragement. If we do that devotedly, then the time will come in another life when all the disabilities that surround us will not be there, when in fresh bodies, under better conditions that we ourselves have created, in fact, for ourselves and others, we will find that we are working as pioneers. The positions that we now occupy will be but the dark, dismal entrance to a glorious life in another time. All these things are possible to us, and no one, however high, could say more than that these are the facts of life, that we are immortal, that our inner being has to be fully expressed, and that the path that all the masters trod, that whereon we now stand. There is nothing else worthwhile. Even in this life, with its imperfections, there can be happiness, joy, in doing right, in thinking right, in knowing that we are following that path that all the great ones have followed before us, moving along fast or slow, as the case may be, but always staying on that path. The masters gave us one message, and that is, hold on grimly. Have confidence and faith, for confidence and faith in the master is bound to bring victory. And it is that touch, that heart touch, that connection of our inner natures, which is the heart touch with those great beings, that is our plank, our bridge by which we may reach them and they reach us. For by that thought and feeling, we may be a channel or connection between them and ourselves. Not by our intellectual study, not by our knowledge of all these things are we to know, but by the feeling of the heart alone do we make that connection. We must improve our ideas. We must improve our brains. We must improve our actions and our control over our selfish natures. But with all that, there must be, if we would succeed, that heart feeling, and let it grow. For in the heart is the real spiritual fire. And as that fire flames up to greater intensity, as it will in such case, we will find ourselves stronger and stronger to conquer, stronger to maintain our position and struggle on, and better able all the time to receive from the diamond heart of the universe all that is there ready for us. It has been said that the will of the masters is one. What one does is according to the will of the rest. They all act together, and each one knows what the other one does. And there is no confusion, no bewilderment among them, for wherever thought can go, they can go. So in our thoughts, in our feelings is the possibility of making a place for them. And each one has to do that individually. The more his heart feelings are aroused in that direction, the more is the possibility and the certainty of help coming to him. That is a key, and the key to the whole understanding of this work. It is the heart doctrine, not the head doctrine. It is the feeling, not the words. So all these things are within our reach, and if we ever loved anything in our lives, let us give as much love in that direction. Try to understand them, try to assimilate their nature, realize as much as we can that nature when we are studying the works they have left for us. That is what opens the door of intuition and gives what is called heart knowledge, together with what we may gain through the head. Let us hope that that is in the hearts of all of us. And as we go on with our work from day to day, week to week, month to month, and year to year, let us treasure in our heart of hearts whatever may have been perceived or felt at this time, for it is a springtime again of another cycle. It is a time when growth and fertilization take place, and we may make that a living power in our hearts if we just hold to it. I think it would be well now if we would have a little informal gathering and move about and get acquainted. It is what HPB and Mr. Judge would wish, that we may get a little closer together, understand each other, and get that feeling of unity of thought and unity of feeling that makes for strength. Union is the great secret of success. So if we can get that unity of thought, will, feeling, there is no power that can stop us.
Thank you so much. So we'll now hear a reading from the Light of Asia, as HPB asked, but we will be hearing it in Spanish from Pablo. Pablo, make sure you unmute.
Cuando llegaron a la orilla del río, una muchacha de ojos de paloma, con las mejillas bañadas de lágrimas y las manos juntas, le saludó prosternándose. Señor, dijo, tú, el que ayer tuvo piedad de mí en esta espesura de higueras, donde vivía sola educando a mi hijo, pero éste, jugando entre las flores, encontró una serpiente que se le enrolló en la muñeca mientras reía y exasperaba a la lengua bífida que se agotaba en la boca abierta de su frío compañero de juego. Pero ay, pronto se puso pálido y silencioso. No podía imaginarse por qué dejaba de jugar y por qué caían sus labios de mi seno, y alguien dijo, está envenenado. Otro, va a morir. Pero yo, que no quiero perder a mi querido hijo, les pedí un remedio que hiciera abrir nuevamente sus ojos a la luz. Era tan pequeña esta mordedura de serpiente y no podía, creo yo, este animal aborrecer ni herir a este niño tan precioso que jugaba con él. Y alguien dijo, hay un hombre santo en la montaña. Mira, por allí se acerca, vestido con su traje amarillo. Pregúntale a ese rishi si existe algún medio de curar el mal que tu hijo padece. Entonces vine temblorosa hacia ti, cuya frente se parece a la de un dios, y llorando levanté el velo que cubría el rostro de mi hijo y le rogué que me dijeras qué hierbas serían eficaces. Y tú, Señor, no me rechazaste, sino que le miraste con enternecidos ojos y le tocaste con mano paciente, y después, extendiendo de nuevo el velo sobre su rostro, me dijiste: sí, hermanita, hay una cosa que os podría curar, desde luego a ti y a él también, si puedes encontrarla, porque los que consultan a los médicos les llevan lo que prescriben, de modo que, te lo ruego, busca una tola de semilla de mostaza y negra, pero ten cuidado de no tomarlo de ninguna casa en la que el padre, la madre, el hijo o el esclavo hayan muerto. Triunfarás si encuentras esta semilla. Así hablaste, mi Señor. El maestro respondió con una sonrisa de ternura inefable: sí, dije esto, pero ¿encontraste la semilla? Fui, Señor, apretando contra mi seno a mi hijo, que estaba frío, y pedí en cada choza, aquí en los juncales y a orillas de la ciudad: os ruego que seáis buenos y me deis una tola de mostaza negra. Y todos los que le tenían me la dieron, porque los pobres son compasivos con los pobres. Pero cuando pregunté: ¿hay por acaso, amigos míos, alguien que haya muerto antes en vuestra casa? ¿El marido, la esposa, un hijo o un esclavo? Respondían: oh, hermana mía, ¿qué preguntáis? Los muertos son numerosos y los vivos son raros. Entonces, dándole las gracias, tristemente devolvía la mostaza y me iba dirigiendo a otras personas, pero éstas me decían: aquí está la semilla, pero hemos perdido a nuestro esclavo. Aquí está la semilla, pero mi buen marido murió. Aquí está la semilla, pero el que la sembraba murió entre la estación de lluvia y la cosecha. Oh Señor, no he podido encontrar mostaza en una sola casa con la que nadie hubiera muerto. Por esto dejé bajo las viñas silvestres a la orilla del río a mi hijo, que no quería mamar ni sonreír, y vine a ver a besarte los pies y suplicarte que indiques dónde podré encontrar esta semilla sin encontrar la muerte al mismo tiempo. Si a pesar de todo no ha muerto mi hijo, como lo temo y como me lo dijeron. Hermana mía, dijo el maestro, buscando lo que nadie puede encontrar, encontraste este bálsamo amargo que quería darte. El que amas durmió ayer el sueño de la muerte sobre tu seno. Ahora ya sabes, tú, que el mundo inmenso llora un dolor semejante al tuyo, sufrimiento que soportan todos los corazones, se hace menos pesado para uno de ellos. Mira, derramaría yo mi sangre si esto pudiera detener tus lágrimas y darme el secreto de esta maldición que hace del amor una causa de angustia y que a través de prados floridos lleva al sacrificio, como conducen a estas bestias mudas los hombres que son sus amos. Yo busco este secreto. Sepulta a tu hijo.
Thank you very much, Pablo. So we will now hear some passages from the Bhagavad Gita from Dominique in French.
La vérité est obscurcie par ce qui n'est pas la vérité, d'où l'égarement de toutes les créatures. Mais en ceux dont l'ignorance a été dissipée par la connaissance du vrai soi, le suprême est révélé comme s'il était éclairé par le soleil. Ceux dont les âmes reposent dans l'esprit, qui y trouvent leur refuge, qui en font le seul objet de leur pensée et sont purifiés de tout péché par la connaissance, atteignent à l'état dont on ne revient pas. Les sages illuminés considèrent avec égalité d'âme un brahman éclairé et impersonnel, une vache, un éléphant, un chien et jusqu'à un paria qui mange la chair de chien. Et ceux qui conservent ainsi l'égalité d'âme gagnent le ciel même dans cette vie, car le suprême est exempt de péché et toujours immuable. C'est pourquoi il repose dans l'Esprit suprême. L'homme qui connaît l'Esprit suprême, qui n'est pas abusé et qui s'attache à lui, ne se réjouit pas des choses agréables et ne se lamente point en affrontant celles qui sont désagréables. Celui dont le cœur est détaché des objets des sens trouve le bonheur en lui-même et, uni à l'Esprit suprême par la consécration, il jouit d'une béatitude impérissable. Les jouissances nées du contact des sens avec les objets extérieurs sont des matrices de douleur, vu qu'elles ont un commencement et une fin. Le sage, au fils de Kunti, ne s'y complaît pas. Est un fidèle consacré et béni celui qui arrive durant sa vie terrestre, avant que l'âme ne se soit libérée du corps, à résister aux impulsions nées du désir et de la colère. L'homme qui est heureux en lui-même et illuminé intérieurement est un fidèle consacré. Participant de la nature de l'Esprit suprême, il y est absorbé. Des sages pareillement illuminés, dont les péchés sont épuisés, qui sont libérés de l'illusion, maîtres de leurs sens et de leurs organes, et voués au bien de toutes les créatures, parviennent à s'assimiler à l'Esprit suprême. L'assimilation à l'Esprit suprême est des deux côtés de la mort pour les hommes libérés du désir et de la colère, qui sont tempérés, dont les pensées sont soumises et qui connaissent le véritable soi.
Wonderful. We will now hear a passage from the Voice of the Silence, read by Annelies in Swedish.
Ha tålamod, du inträdessökande, så som den där inte fruktar någon motgång, inte eftertraktar någon medgång. Fäst din själs blick på stjärnan, var stråle du är. Den flammande stjärnan som lyser i det eviga varandets ljuslösa djup. På det okändas gränslösa fält. Var uthållig så som den där i evighet framhärdar. Dina skuggor lever och dör bort. Det som i dig skall evinnerligen leva, det som i dig vet, ty det är kunskapen själv. Det lever inte med ett flyende liv. Det är den människan som var, som är och som ska vara. Vår sista timme aldrig slår. Vill du skörda ljuvlig frid och ro, lärjunge? Må du med goda gärningar säd beså kommande skördars åkerfält. Bär villigt återfödelsens lidande. Träd ur solljuset in i skuggan för att bereda mer rum åt andra. De tårar som vattnar kvalens och sorgens förbrända mark alstrar det karmiska återgäldandets blomster och frukter. Ur människolivets smältugn och dess svarka rök uppstiger vingande lågor, renade flammor, som svävande uppåt och framåt under karmas öga. Till slut bildar den förhärligade väven till vägens 3 klädnader. Tack.
Thank you. Our next reading will be from the Secret Doctrine and will be presented to us by Anthony.
The ever unknowable and incognizable Karana alone, the causeless cause of all causes, should have its shrine and altar on the holy and ever untrodden ground of our heart. Invisible, intangible, unmentioned, save through the still small voice of our spiritual consciousness. Those who worship before it ought to do so in the silence and the sanctified solitude of their souls, making their spirit the sole mediator between them and the universal spirit. Their good actions, the only priests, and their sinful intentions, the only visible and objective sacrificial victims to the presence.
Our next selection is from the stanzas of Xian and will be given to us by Ray.
Cosmic Evolution, stanza 1. The eternal parent, wrapped in her ever-invisible robes, had slumbered once again for 7 eternities. Time was not, for it lay asleep in the infinite bosom of duration. Universal mind was not, for there were no ahi to contain it. The 7 ways to bliss were not. The great causes of misery were not, for there was no one to produce and get ensnared by them. Darkness alone filled the boundless all, for Father, Mother, and Son were once more one, and the Son had not awakened yet for the new wheel and his pilgrimage thereon. The 7 sublime lords and the 7 truths had ceased to be, and the universe, the son of necessity, was immersed in paranishpana, to be outbreathed by that which is and what yet is not, naught was. The causes of existence had been done away with. The visible that was and the invisible that existed in eternal non-being, the one being, alone the one form of existence, stretched boundless, infinite, causeless, in dreamless sleep, and life pulsated unconscious in universal space. Throughout that all presence, which is sensed by the open eye of the Dhamma. But where was the Dhamma when the alaya of the universe was in Paramartha and the great wheel was Anupadaka?
Excellent. And we now will have a reading, another reading from the Secret Doctrine. It will be given to us twice, first in Swedish and second in English, by Anna.
En stor cirkel. Slut dina ögon och från din egen perception rikta tankarna utåt till de yttersta perceptiva gränserna i alla riktningar. Du kommer då att finna att likriktade linjer eller strålar av perception strålar liksidigt ut i alla riktningar så att din yttersta perceptiva ansträngning terminerar i en allomslutande sfär. Gränserna för denna sfär kommer kunna likställas med en stor cirkel och de likriktade strålarna av tankar i alla riktningar blir den rätsidiga radien av cirkeln. Detta kommer sedan, humant talat, bli den yttersta allomfattande konceptualiseringen av Ein Sof manifest, som yttrar sig själv som en geometrisk figur, med andra ord, som en cirkel med dess element av kurverad cirkumferens och rätsidig diameter indelad i radie. Följaktligen en geometrisk figur som är den första identifierbara kopplingen mellan Ein Sof och mänsklig intelligens. A great circle. Close your eyes, and from your own consciousness of perception, try to think outward to the extremest limits in every direction. You will find that equal lines or rays of perception extend out evenly in all directions, so that the utmost effort of perception will terminate in the vault of a sphere. The limitation of this sphere will, of necessity, be a great circle, and the direct rays of thought in any and every direction must be right line radii of the circle. This then must be, humanely speaking, the extremest all-embracing conception of Ein Sof manifest, which formulates itself as a geometrical figure, of a circle with its elements of curved circumference and right-line diameter divided into radii. Hence, a geometrical shape is the first recognizable means of connection between the Ein Sof and intelligence of man. The Secret Doctrine, Volume 1, page 429.
Thank you very much, Anna. Our next contribution is a poem written by Tennyson called The Mystic, and it will be read to us by Kathy.
The Mystic. Angels have talked with her and showed her thrones. Ye knew her not, she was not one of ye. Ye scorned her with an undiscerning scorn. Ye could not read the marvel in her eye, the still serene abstraction. She hath felt the vanities of after and before, albeit her spirit and her secret heart the stern experiences of converse lives. the linked woes of many a fiery change had purified and chastened and made free. Always there stood before her, night and day, of wayward, vari-colored circumstance, the imperishable presences serene, colossal, without form or sense or sound, dim shadows but unwaning presences, four-faced to four corners of the sky, and yet again 3 shadows fronting one forward, 1 respectant, 3 but 1, and yet again and evermore, for the first 2 were not, but only seemed 1 shadow in the midst of a great light, 1 reflex from eternity on time, 1 mighty countenance of perfect calm, awful with most invariable eyes. For her, the silent congregated hours, daughters of time, divinely tall, beneath severe and youthful brows, with shining eyes, smiling a godlike smile, the innocent light of earliest youth pierced through and through, with all keen knowledges of low emboldened upheld, and ever hold aloft the cloud which droops low hung on either gate of life, both birth and death. She in the center fixed, saw far on each side through the grated gates, most pale and clear and lovely distances. She often lying broad awake, and yet remaining from the body, and apart in intellect and power and will, hath heard time flowing in the middle of the night, and all things creeping to a day of doom. How could ye know her? Ye were yet within the narrower circle. She had well nigh reached the last, with which a region of white flame, pure without heat, into a larger air upburning, and an ether of black hue, investeth and engirds all other lives.
Thank you very much. And now we move on to some chants and contributions from India. And our first chant is from Shankaracharya. And the English is posted here for you to see. And we have Roshni to thank for this.
Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham na cha shrota jihve na cha ghrana netre na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham na cha prana samjno na vai panchavayur न वा सप्तधातुर्न वा पञ्चकोश न वाक्पाणिपादौ न चोपस्थपायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहौ मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्ष चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्य चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपो विभुर्व्याप्य सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां सदा मे समत्वं न मुक्तिर्न बन्ध चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् शिवोऽहं 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 शिवोऽहम्
Our next contribution comes from the Rig Veda, and we will hear Vikash recite the hymn Devak.
When, O Lord of the Word, the wise established name-giving, the first principle of language, their inmost essence, pristine and pure, hidden deep within, was brought to light through love. When the wise created language with the mind, as winnowing ground barley with a sieve, friends acknowledged the essence of friendship. Upon their speech was impressed the mark of grace. When devotion they walked the path of the word, which they saw abiding within the seers, they drew it out, ordering it always. The word which seven singers exalt. Many a man who sees does not see the word, and many a man who hears does not hear it. Yet for another, Vak reveals herself like a radiant bride yielding to her Lord. Another man is apt to be uncaring, unmoved to act with daring, all tangled in vain imaginings. The word he hears bears no flower or fruit. He who forsakes a companion in knowledge lacks every avenue for sharing the word. In truth, what he hears to no avail. He cannot perceive the path of right action. To all companions are eyes and ears bestowed. Yet each man differs in the quickness of his mind. Some are like deep, refreshing lakes, others, alas, like shallow pools. When men of the word, companions, worship, refining in their hearts flashes of insight, some attain awareness of knowledge, others wander mouthing empty words. Those who move neither forward nor backward are not men of the word, nor refiners of essence, poor craftsmen, mishandling the word, spinning frail threads of self-regard. All companions rejoice in their virtuous friend, finding fulfillment at the journey's end. Nourishing them, he eases their pain, for he is ever ready to virtue forth. When one man adds to the store of sacred verse, another sings hymns to banish confusion. The man of the word gives knowledge of what is, and another gives measure to worship.
Thank you very much. We have the good fortune of hearing what is called the universal prayer, which is taken from the Upanishads. And Devajit is going to perform this chant both in Sanskrit and then secondly in Hindi. And the script will be up on screen for you to read.
Namaskar and greetings to all. I'm going to chant an ancient Sanskrit prayer considered as an universal prayer for peace and related to the biblical vision of Shalom, beloved by the Hindus and also used by some Christians. It was one of the favorite prayers of Mahatma Gandhi. The source of the prayer is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, written about 700 BC. Some of the key words that you'll hear, or you already have heard in some of the Sanskrit chants, is the Om, the primordial sound of creation, or Atma. Sarve or Sarvevam means we all who live in this universe. Swasthir means health, well-being. Shanti is peace. Mangalam means success, auspiciousness, or prosperity. Purnam means fulfillment, and Dukkha means suffering. Now here is the chant. Om Sarvesham Sastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pachantu, Ma Kachit Dukkha Bhavave. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Now here's the Hindi translation. हम सभी लोग सुखी हो, हम सभी लोग रुक मुक्त रहे, हम सभी को जीवन में मंगल रहे और कोई भी दुख का भाग ना बने। हे भगवान, हम ऐसा ही वरदान दो। शांति शांति शांति। Thank you.
Thank you, Devajit. Okay, we've come to this part of our program when we're going to turn it over to Russ Law to provide us with some closing remarks.
Hello, everyone. And it is really great that so many were able to come to this meeting from all over the world. And we certainly welcome each and all. It may seem strange to some that we Theosophists have traditionally commemorated the life and work of Madame Blavatsky on or around May 8th, the date in 1891 on which she left her body. Birthdays, after all, are what's usually celebrated. But the reason for this is plain enough. The purpose of these meetings is to shine a light on her work in the world and to draw attention to what she herself stated was her mission. And her death marked the completion of that cycle of monumental effort that she so arduously and selflessly undertook. Her life as a personality, the many fascinating and mysterious events surrounding her 60 years of incarnation, of which the last 20 years or so was spent in the public arena, while certainly interesting and worth reading about, they're not the focus of these gatherings, and she herself would certainly not have wanted that. And as only, as Mr. Crosbie pointed out, that students meet together on the anniversary of her death and read from the Bhagavad Gita and the Light of Asia, which were both books which she deeply treasured. Upon the first of these meetings in 1892, Colonel Henry Olcott, who was the president of the Theosophical Society, proclaimed that henceforth the day would be known as White Lotus Day, thus associating it with one of the most sacred symbols of the East. And considering the purpose and scope of her work in the world, it seems a most fitting symbol. As HPB herself points out in The Secret Doctrine, the lotus has cosmic significance as its seed contains a perfect miniature of the plant that will eventually emerge. It thus symbolizes the emergence onto the manifested planes of the unmanifested spiritual prototypes. And she states, and I quote here, "The lotus plant grows up through the water, having its root in the ilus or mud, and spreading its flower in the air above. The lotus thus typifies the life of man and also that of the cosmos, for the Secret Doctrine teaches that the elements of both are the same, and that both are developing in the same direction. The root of the lotus, sunk in the mud, represents material life. The stalk passing up through the water typifies existence in the astral world. And the flower floating on the water, opening to the sky, is emblematical of spiritual being. Thus, the lotus is truly a symbol of the path of spiritual regeneration, the journey back to the sacred seat, the divine sun, as we heard in the opening words of the sacred Gayatri. In the reading from Robert Crosbie, he emphatically stresses the importance of the Heart Doctrine. Now we, of course, we need the intellectual study, as it is through the intellect that we develop minds that are more penetrating, better able to work with and communicate abstract ideas and principles. And as anyone who has undertaken a study of Theosophy of this well knows, that there is nothing that places a greater demand on the intellect. But as Crosbie points out, intellectual study alone does not lead to genuine self-knowledge. It does not lead to wisdom. Intellect purely on its own, especially when it teams up with the lower aspects of our desire nature, namely self-preservation and pleasure-seeking, it leads to isolation, to selfishness, to self-justification of all sorts, to pride and elitism. And these are the very opposite of wisdom. So what is meant by the Heart Doctrine? Well, Crosbie describes it as a feeling, the feeling of aspiration, we could say, the feeling of devotion, a sense that there are deeper and unfathomed aspects to what we truly are as human beings. It might be thought of as a sort of fire or flame within us, part of our inner nature that partakes the very highest aspect of desire. Kamadeva, or godlike desire, is defined as the first conscious, all-embracing desire for universal good, love, and for all that lives and feels, needs help and kindness. The first feeling of infinite tender compassion and mercy that arose in the consciousness of the creative one force as soon as it came into life and being as a ray from the absolute. To draw nearer to the masters, of which Crosbie speaks, means nothing other than to draw closer in terms of awakening the sensibilities of the inner life, turning our attention inward to that within us, which is unconditioned and universal, invisible, intangible, unmentioned, save through the still small voice of our spiritual consciousness, as stated in that beautiful passage we heard from the Secret Doctrine. The flaming star that shines within the lightless depths of ever being, the boundless fields of the unknown, as we heard from the voice of the silence. So the Heart Doctrine involves putting into practice those disciplines that help clarify our perceptions, so as to allow this light to shine forth as much as possible into our daily lives. It means to look within. There is so much that we can find in the readings we heard today that touches on this idea of the path towards self-knowledge, symbolized by the White Lotus. The mustard seed tale from the Light of Asia reminds us of the role that suffering often can play in the process of growth and awakening. For all of us must inevitably suffer from time to time, so long as we have attachments, so long as there are parts of our nature which are out of control, so long as we have areas of opacity and blindness. Pain and suffering is often, as Emerson points out in his essay on compensation, they're often the way by which we are led or forced out of worn out, limited patterns of thinking and acting, so that we can expand and grow. And it can help us to understand and have empathy for the pain of others, and to serve, to diminish our egotism and strengthen our connection with others, which is what that poor suffering mother was led to. The Buddha was not able to take away her pain, but she did begin to see that things, she began to see things from a broader perspective, to find some deeper meaning in her suffering, to see that she was not alone. And what is the nature of those who have attained to wisdom? What is the nature of the illuminated sage? How do they act? How do such beings differ from us? That is what we heard read from the Bhagavad Gita. These are qualities we can ponder over and aspire towards. Equal-mindedness, non-attachment, devotion to the good of all creatures. So today we have heard from HPB herself, from ancient scriptures such as the Bhagavad Gita, the Rig Veda, and the Upanishads, from the ancient teacher Shankaracharya, from the even more ancient stanzas of John. We've heard from two great poets of the 19th century, Edward Arnold and Alfred Tennyson. All of these touch deeply on the inner life and the doctrine of the heart. I should mention that for those who may have come to the meeting late, all these readings are going to be available in PDF format, and I think a link to that has been put in the chat, and I think it will later be available on the Universal Theosophy website, because we all probably want to spend some more time with these readings. It's very hard to get the full meaning of these readings just from just hearing it one time. And as has been pointed out so many times, the only way to begin to know and to understand H.P. Blavatsky, who she was, what she stood for, is to undertake a serious study of what she wrote. From studying her books, The Isis Unveiled, The Secret Doctrine, The Key to Theosophy, one gets into the current, so to speak, of the Theosophical movement and gains an understanding and a sense of gratitude, really, for what she brought to the Western world, especially, and indeed to the world at large. She herself said that she brought nothing new, but she sought to rescue from degradation the archaic truths, which are the basis of all religions, and which are the sacred heritage of all humanity. And she aimed to assign to man his rightful place in the scheme of the universe. And what did she ask of her students? Well, she put it quite plainly. Be theosophists, she implored, and work for theosophy. In other words, get to work in and on yourselves for the sake of becoming better, kinder, wiser, more useful human beings. Be brave and take hold of the reins. Dare to think for yourselves. Get over your egotism. Don't be content to drift or to think of yourself as a mere victim of circumstances. Know that before you stretches the small old path that leads towards wisdom and genuine self-knowledge, the path of self-discipline, of meditation, of service to others, of overcoming our selfishness. And while we must progress along this path through our own self-induced and self-directed efforts, no one can do our learning for us. It is also true that we have available at all times the most wonderful help and guidance by reason of the work in the world, often done at great sacrifice by teachers such as HPB and by all the great sages and teachers down through the ages who have preceded us. Well, now you will recall that at the end of his talk, Mr. Crosbie invited everyone to stick around for a while, to gather informally, to get acquainted so as to strengthen and promote a unity of thought and feeling. And so in keeping with this, today we're going to try kind of an experiment. Since we are not physically together in a meeting hall, and give everyone, as many as we can, an opportunity to say a few words. You can use the Zoom feature that allows you to stick up a little hand. I think it's at the bottom of the screen is called reactions, and then one of your options is to stick your hand up, and we will call on you. And in the words of your local utility company, your call will be answered in the order received. Try to limit yourself to a minute so that we can accommodate as many as possible. And please, I think at least let us know what city and country you are in. State your name if you wish, you don't have to. Some thoughts about the meeting, what inspired you, etc. And if you just want to say hi, that's fine too. So let's now open the meeting to comments from everyone. And I don't see any hands yet. Jerry, you're the first one.
Well, I just want to thank all of the readers and chanters. I know how hard they all worked on their parts, and it means the world to all of us that they put all that energy and effort into it. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of them from Ventura County, California.
Thank you. Judy, you're next.
Yes, Los Osos, California, ULT Santa Barbara. Yes, I too want to thank all the wonderful readers and chanters in several different languages for their inspiration. And just let us remember that the war in Europe, World War II, ended on White Lotus Day. And of course, now we have another terrible war happening. And the war in the Pacific was officially ended about the time HPB was born into her temporary body, that great being. So I'm so glad we've all come together to thank this great being who sacrificed so much for us. Thank you all.
Great, thank you, Judy. Philemon, you're next.
So I'm located in Cameroon, and I just want to say thank you for this amazing program. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Philemon. Well, until someone else raises, well, Ava, you're next, please.
Well, Eva from Malmö, Sweden. And I would just like to express my appreciation for everyone that has made this possible. And for us, in this part of Globe D, we're a little bit out in the boonies up north here. It's so nice to feel connected with everyone. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Laura Gray, you're next.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Yes, I too, Eva, I'm up in the north, and it is nice to feel connected. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky lifted the veil on this wisdom religion that belongs to all of us, to all of humanity. But what is lovely about a body of students is that we also lift the veil for each other a little higher through the sharing of our insights and our ideas and our thoughts and our work and our efforts. So thank you to all of you.
Great comments, thank you. Well, until someone else wants to speak up, there's one anecdote about HPB that I just really love. I mean, many of you have heard it, but it's worth repeating. When she was working in London towards the end of her life, there were a lot of people, kind of a constellation of students and workers that were working in that household with her. And one time, one of these workers went to HPB and said, "Madam, what is the most important quality for a theosophist to have?" And she looked at him and she said, "Common sense." And he thought about that a minute and he said, "Well, that's good. Well, what is the next most important thing, the next most important quality that theosophists should have?" And she said, "A sense of humor." And he thought about that and said, "All right, well, what is another quality that theosophists should have?" And she said, "Still more common sense." Elaine, you have a turn.
Yeah, just to that type of meeting remind the Theosophical map.
Of the masters.
No, I don't know if you remember the Theosophical map, which was seen, I don't remember if it was by Blavatsky or by Judge, with the lights of each Theosophical center in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
it was
remember?
by Judge in the Echoes from the Orient.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter.
Jerry?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Pierre if he could say a couple words about a project that he's not particularly keen on waving a flag about, but I am. There's been a annotated work on the Secret Doctrine project that Pierre's been essentially working on his entire life. And I want him to tell all of us a little bit more about what he's done and what he's accomplished and how it can be put to good use when he's finished. So would you mind doing that, Pierre?
Are you referring to the Secret Doctrine, Jerry?
I am indeed. What else?
Many other things that I'm doing, but one of the things I've been doing over the last couple of years is digitizing the Secret Doctrine. One of the reasons for that is because our original Secret Doctrine that we have at the lodge has always been photostatically reprinted, and the quality of those photos is not really up to snuff anymore. And you can't take them to a printer anymore. It would cost us a fortune to do that. Nowadays, printers ask for a PDF. So there was no other recourse but to digitize the whole of the Secret Doctrine, which took me about 2 years. And that was a year and a half ago, because for the last year and a half, I've been proofreading the Secret Doctrine and primarily correcting the typos, and I would say primarily actually correcting all the references that we find in the Secret Doctrine. And those references will be up on Universal Theosophy so that any changes that have been made can be checked by other people if you want to go and look at it. And I would say probably about more than 95% of the books we have found, they are either available on Google Books or on archive.org. So that's about what I've been doing. I hope to finish the work by the end of the year, because we're slowly running out of copies. And then this new version will be put into print and available to the world. So thank you.
Paola.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I'm from Italy, and I'm a part of a very big group of Theosophy here in Italy, from north to south. And this is a great opportunity for me to fill it up and feeling connected with all of you all over the world. So thank you. Grazie.
Yeah, thank you. That was very good to hear. Thank you.
It's kind of interesting to think that we haven't had a chance to have a meeting of this nature up until the COVID experience, and with these online opportunities, we can all get in a room together as if we were right next door. And you know, we all had the feeling that there was people out in the world whose enthusiasm and affection for these teachings were equal to our own. And it's so wonderful to be in the same place together, and you know, to feel the energy of our collective efforts to, you know, pass on these teachings to other people who need them. And don't we think that, you know, the times we live in, and maybe all times for that matter, these teachings are so vital to the evolution of humanity. It's just such a joy for me to be in the same company with all of you guys. So I really feel strongly that we'll try to keep this going and find ways to keep communicating with each other. Any other last words before we close our meeting?
Actually, I've got
I see that someone named Russell Law has her hand up, and that must be my other computer, which means it must be my wife's. So
no,
please.
it's not actually, Russ. It is a friend of yours. I think I'm still a friend, and it's because you sent me a link. My computer went down.
Okay. All right. It's Ray, and please speak up.
Well, I just want to say, actually, cannot add much to what has beautifully been said, except having been a student in Los Angeles since my 20s, and now I'm a little bit older than that. And it is just incredible and inspiring to have access to all of you throughout the world. And it leaves me, without going into any more detail, just a feeling that the Theosophical movement is alive and well as it has probably ever been in terms of the circumstances of our history in the past and the opportunities where we might be going now. And I get gooseflesh thinking about the fact that I get to see students, friends, family, and all of you right here. Goodbye.
Thank you, Ray. Pash, you're next.
Hi, I'm dialing in from Sedona, Arizona, and this is my first Theosophical group in many decades. So anyway, it's just really a joy to dip in, and just I'm impressed with the diversity of and variety of what you guys are pulling from for your material that you're reading from. Just really gorgeous and inspiring, and thank you.
Thank you for those comments. And Vikash, you're next.
Yeah, hi all. I just wanted to say thank you to all, and also to mention that we also have a mobile app available on the Google and the Apple Store. So there are good talks on it, and it's also having some of the magazines, Theosophical Movement magazine, plus the programs of various ULT lodges around the world is updated on that. And we look forward to also add some video events like these to be streamed on the app shortly. So please try to download that and make best use of the mobile app. Thank you.
Would you say again what the name of the app is?
Yes, so if you go to the Google store, or if you go to the Apple store, you can search for United Lodge of Theosophists, and the app will come. You can go to Universal Theosophy website, and on the home page, if you slightly scroll down, you can get the link of the app also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Russ, we'll make a better effort to make it easily available from the Universal Theosophy website.
Oh, okay.
Vikash and I were planning on changing its location, but there'll be a place with an explanation and information about the app that Vikash has been working on for the last couple of years, where he's basically trying to collate all of the activities from various groups from around the world, ULT or otherwise, that we feel that helps promote the cause of Theosophy. And we'll set up a page explaining all this on the Universal Theosophy website.
Very good. Very good. Maluka, you have your hand up.
Yes. Good afternoon. Greetings from all over. Saludos. Buonasera. Bonjour. I'm so delighted to see so many old friends from Europe, especially, and also from different parts. Thank you so much for putting this together. It was inspiring and quite lovely, well put together. And everybody that participated did a beautiful job. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see us together. I hope this happens more often, not just once a year, because I think it's very much needed, especially now. Interesting enough, tomorrow, May 8th, is also the celebration of the birth of Buddha, which coincided with her departure, interesting enough. And I was going to say that HPB was born in Dupre, I think is how it's pronounced, which is near the river with the same name in Russia, in Ukraine. And that town got badly devastated almost. And
sad that that is happening, but I wonder, you know, she came from Russian, and it was around, as somebody mentioned before, there was a connection with the war, and then now again, you know, the same area is being affected. So I hope that we will continue to be brotherly, sisterly, and leave all the side issues to the side so that we can move forward in this movement and help one another, because I believe that we are here in this world to love and help one another. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
You are.
Something just happened to my screen here. Oh, I guess
Pierre is showing us something.
Pierre is showing where that app might be found. Vikash, did you have a further comment, or have you? Your
Yes,
hands are still up. I just wondered if you had another comment.
I have a comment.
No other comment. I mean, this is the app. I think you can easily download it from your mobile. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think MDW, you're waving your hand. That's
Yes. Thank you. This endeavor is very, very, we say, exhilarating to be part of this, but only in the sense that we find in the Voice of the Silence, where it says, "Make pride and self-regard bond maidens to devotion." And we would think HPB would say, "All the rest is flapdoodle."
I think you're right. Where are you? Where are you speaking from?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
City of Brothers.
I think Dominique wanted to say something too.
All right. Well, someone needs to mute their.
Oh, that's Judy's. Okay.
Beyond
Dominique, go ahead.
Dominique. Dominique, did you?
Who was this?
Judy, hold on a second. Dominique, go ahead.
No, I was in a Zoom meeting, but it's just ended.
Oh, these are the
yeah.
I'll find a way to mute her.
No, it's
issues that need to be ironed out.
Let me try to.
I'm on my way to that other job, so.
Host can mute Judy. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. Dominique. Please.
Dominique, it's your floor.
Yes, just to thank you, all of you who have been so useful to put this together, because we really enjoy it. I mean, here in Paris, but in other places, obviously. Gita just wants to add, because we haven't had a chance to hear her today. She has something.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind, you know, I mean, it's to give us a sense of citizenship. One idea we can think of is, despite all that's going on, which is sort of like, you know, very worrying, concerning, there's one sentence which is like a mantra, which comes from the secret doctrine, which you all know. It is a law of occult dynamics that a given amount of energy expended on the spiritual or astral plane is productive of far greater results than the same amount expended on the physical objective plane of existence. So probably because we're all together and we are silently working in that field of, in that direction of occult dynamics, of maybe spiritual awakening, it gives us hope and a sense of citizenship. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Great comment. Thank you.
I have maybe a couple closing comments to make. The work that we've been doing with the Universal Theosophy website is intended to be supportive of all of the various efforts that other groups are doing. We're not trying to do something necessarily different. We realize the fact that there are many people studying Theosophy and thinking about Theosophy and theosophical ideas that don't have lodges to go to, don't have people that are near them. So in a sense, what we've been trying to do is create something of a virtual lodge. where people could feel welcome to come and join in on our lectures that we're doing twice a year, these special events. We have both a Great Teachers Day in November and then White Lotus Day that we do in the spring. And then there's study classes that not only that our group, this Universal Theosophy group, which is basically comprised of a lot of ULT members in California. But in the classes that we're doing online, we're getting participants from all over. Vikash, for example, has been joining us on Wednesday night Secret Doctrine classes, all the way from India, for heaven's sakes. Kathy's joined us from Maryland, on the things we're doing here in California. So we would like to also support any of the online things you guys are doing, and we can post that on the website. Vikash has put all this wonderful work into trying to bring a lot of these resources together into one place that you can find them. Similarly, we'd like to be able to direct people that we come in contact with through the different things we're doing with the local things that you guys are doing. And we have on the Universal Theosophy website both a place to list all of the programs and discussion groups that we're putting on, and another page where all of the other activities are available. So a lot of people are finding Theosophy through the internet. They're not finding it through some building someplace. I think those days are over. So at the same token, it would be wonderful if they could meet you and come to know you. I know for me, speaking just for myself alone, when I first came to my first meeting, Theosophy meeting, none of it made any sense to me whatsoever. It went right over my head. I was 18 years old, and none of it made a bit of sense to me. But the people that I met that night made such a huge impression on me. Just the quality of the people, the kindness, their thoughtfulness, their earnestness, their sincerity. I mean, it just cut through all of the intellectual confusion and got right to my heart. And I'm sure that, people who are looking into Theosophy or, have this what is it, divine discontent, they can feel that there's something that they need to do. There's some path they need to start walking. That will be enhanced if they can meet you guys, if they can make friends with you. And so even though the internet is a great way to connect, what we'd like to do with the Universal Theosophy website is get them reconnected with local activities that are going on also. So we need your help a little bit to make that happen. So if I'll give you the last word, Ross, and then we should bring our meeting to a close.
Well, I don't really have any last words. I don't see anyone else here that has a hand up. So I think I think, what did we schedule? An hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes. So I guess we can all go our separate ways. It's been a wonderful gathering, I think, and I think this is such an important thing to do, and it's so kind of wonderful, really, that this technology is now available to us. We're perhaps a little slow on the uptake in terms of getting in on it and making it work, but I think it's going to be a really kind of a very major part of our work going forward. I think that's just inevitable. So that's all I have to say.
Russ, I just wanted to say quickly, this is Gail from Seattle, Washington.
Yes.
I wanted to thank Jerry for all of his work in putting these together, as well as on the website, Universal Theosophy. It's really given us a sense of community, especially to people like me who are kind of out in the field and there is no lodge close by. So thank you from that bunch of people.
Thanks, Gail. And you're in Kent, Washington, I believe.
Yes, close to Seattle.
Thanks. Yeah, that's That's great. And yeah, these meetings don't happen by themselves. There's a lot of work that goes into it and getting it all organized and flowing properly. So yeah, it's a lot of effort by people that choose to undertake the project. All right.
Everyone have a wonderful White Lotus Day tomorrow.
Yes.
All the best.
That's right.
All the best, everyone.
All right.
Happy White Lotus.
Good night.
Bye,
Adios.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Adios.
Adios.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Adios.
Well done, Ray.
Thank you.
Well
Bye-bye.
done, Anna.
Bye-bye.
Anna, you were wonderful.
Everyone. Wonderful,
Pablo, you
wonderful.
were great.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci, insomma.
Arrivederci.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you, everyone. It was nice.
Goodbye, Victoria. Goodbye, Ivania. I owe you a
Thank
phone
you.
call.
Goodbye.
I
No,
owe
I know
you-
it's okay.
I owe you a call. I'll be able to do it now.
Merci. Au revoir.
I heard you, Pascal.
Au revoir.
All right. This is the last goodbye right here.